So the United States just bombed Iran's nuclear sites, and you had the New York Times even posting United States entered war with Iran. How is this going to affect our stocks? In this video, I'm going to go over the impacts of this bombing and how I plan to maneuver around this market during these uncertain times here. So if you haven't already heard, the United States flew into Iran, struck 3 of their most important nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. So why did Trump make such a bold move? First, let's talk about the biggest concern, nuclear weapons. The United States intelligence believed Iran was getting dangerously close to building a nuclear bomb. For President Trump and his advisors, this wasn't just a regional issue. It was a global threat, especially to America's allies like Israel. We're going to cut to a B-roll footage of Israel military maps showing Iran and Israel as I say this next part. Israel had already struck some Iranian targets, but their weapons couldn't reach the most heavily fortified sites. And that's where the United States came in, using their advanced bunker buster bombs to hit those deep underground facilities. But what does Iran say about all this? Are their nuclear sites really destroyed? Iran has actually admitted that Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan sites were hit by the United States airstrikes. But here's the twist. Iranian officials are downplaying the damage. According to Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, these sites were evacuated before the strikes, and most of the sensitive materials, like enriched uranium, were moved out in advance. They're also saying there's been no radioactive contamination. and that the attacks didn't cause any major irreversible damage. So in short, Iran claims their nuclear program is still on track and that the facilities are either intact or only lightly damaged. There are, however, major implications that can come from this if Iran chooses to retaliate. And that is in closing the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical waterways on the planet. About 20% of the world's oil passes through this narrow passage between Iran and Oman. After the United States airstrikes, Iran's parliament even approved a measure to close that strait as that form of retaliation. But here's the reality. While Iran has the geographical advantage and the military hardware to cause some serious disruption, think laying mines, attacking ships, launching missiles, experts say a total long-term closure is pretty unlikely. The United States Navy and its allies have a huge presence in that region and would almost certainly step in fast if Iran tried to block the strait. Secondly, Iran actually relies on the Strait of Hormuz for its own oil exports, so closing it would actually hurt their own economy as well. Historically, Iran has threatened to shut down the strait and has even harassed ships, but they've never been able to fully block it. Any disruptions that they've always done has always been short-lived, thanks to the quick international action. So while Iran could definitely cause chaos and spike oil prices in the short term, actually closing the Strait of Hormuz for any length of time, that's a whole different story and one that's not very likely. What this does mean is short-term oil may rise and oil stocks. Short-term oil may rise and oil stocks will likely rise too. And overall, markets will likely take a hit in the short term as there's a fear and uncertainty, and the market hates uncertainty. With oil prices rising, with JP Morgan estimating that it could send oil prices to $120 to $130 per barrel, if there was any closure of the Strait of Hormuz, this would imply a spike in United States CPI inflation to 5%. The last time we saw United States inflation at 5% was roughly in March of 2023, where the Fed were aggressively hiking the rates. This isn't a period of time where people are expecting rate cuts. So yes, as of right now, inflation, geopolitical tensions are what will drive the market in the short term. For me, no matter how wild the headlines get or how much short-term noise we see in the markets, history shows that solid fundamentals win out. Companies with real value, strong balance sheets, sustainable business models, they tend to come out on top over time. That's why I'm not chasing hype or panicking over every twist and turn. I'm focusing on finding those hidden gems, holding through the ups and downs, and letting time do its thing. If you're on the same page or if you have your own strategy, I'd love to hear about it. If you're on the same page or you have your own strategy, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more investing insights.